And look at this. CNN can now project that Hillary Clinton is the winner in Georgia, is the winner in Virginia as well. Hillary Clinton is the winner. Bernie Sanders, we project, wins his home state of Vermont. Hillary Clinton wins 2 states, Georgia and Virginia. Bernie Sanders wins Vermont. Let's go to the key race alert right now. Hillary Clinton, as we reported, Hillary Clinton wins Georgia and Virginia. Just want to be precise based on our projection, based on the exit poll information, the other information we're getting. Bernie Sanders wins his home state of Vermont. We have a key race alert now. Exit poll results that we're getting in. The exit poll results in Virginia. First of all, in Georgia, take a look at this. Based on early estimates, Georgia, Donald Trump 40%, Ted Cruz 24%, Marco Rubio 23%. In Virginia, Donald Trump 34%, Marco Rubio 31%, Ted Cruz, he's down at 16%. These are exit poll results based on early information we're getting in from the exit polls. We have early leaders as well in Vermont. The early leaders in Vermont, look at this. On the Republican side, Donald Trump and John Kasich, they are both early leaders in Vermont. CNN projects Donald Trump will win Georgia, the Republican presidential primary in Georgia. Donald Trump is the winner in Georgia. He won South Carolina. Now he wins Georgia. A big win for Donald Trump tonight. Anderson, this is what Donald Trump wanted. He got Georgia. 4 states getting ready to close right now at the top of the hour. We're talking about Alabama, Massachusetts, Oklahoma, and Tennessee. Lots of delegates at stake tonight. This is the second round of closings. We're going to share the numbers with you right now and some major projections. First of all, CNN projects that Donald Trump will win the Alabama Republican presidential primary. Another state going to Donald Trump. CNN also projects that Donald Trump will carry Massachusetts, the Republican presidential primary in Massachusetts. Another win for Donald Trump. A third win right now at this hour. Donald Trump, CNN projects, will also carry Tennessee. 3 wins right now for Donald Trump. Hillary Clinton, we project Hillary Clinton will be the winner in both Alabama and Tennessee. 2 important wins for Hillary Clinton right now. You see Alabama, 53 delegates at stake. In Tennessee, another 67 delegates. Hillary Clinton is the winner in both of those states. 2 more wins for Hillary Clinton. We have a key race alert we want to share with you right now as well. Let's go first to Oklahoma on the Republican side. A close contest over there based on our exit polls. Ted Cruz at 32%. Donald Trump and Marco Rubio at 27%. Those are exit poll estimates. In Massachusetts on the Democratic side, estimates 52% for Bernie Sanders, 46% for Hillary Clinton. Close contest there. In Oklahoma on the Democratic side as well, similarly, Bernie Sanders 51%, 46% for Hillary Clinton. Those are estimates based on the exit polls. Remember, these exit polls are based on our early survey of voters as they left their polling locations. So let's take a look at the wins so far tonight. For Donald Trump, he has won 4 states: Georgia, Alabama, Massachusetts, and Tennessee. Similarly, Hillary Clinton, she has won 4 states: Georgia, Virginia, Alabama, and Tennessee. Bernie Sanders, we have projected, wins his home state of Vermont. You see that right there. In Vermont, first of all, only 2% of the vote is in on the Republican side. Trump is ahead, 36.4%, 25% for John Kasich, the Ohio governor, 19% for Marco Rubio, 16 delegates at stake in Vermont. In Virginia, on the Republican side, Donald Trump is ahead with 36.8%. 30.5% for Marco Rubio, only 16.9% for Ted Cruz, 49 delegates at stake in Virginia. Oklahoma right now, there's a close battle underway with 2% of the vote in very, very early, but Donald Trump is ahead 36.2%, Ted Cruz 29.6%, Marco Rubio 21.9%. 43 delegates at stake in Oklahoma. Let's move to Texas right now. That's the big prize. Votes are coming in right now in Texas. The polls actually close in Texas at the top of the hour, 9 p.m. Eastern, but they're already releasing officially these numbers right now. 1% of the vote is in. Ted Cruz at 41.9%, Donald Trump 30.5%, Marco Rubio in third place with 14%. That's in Texas. That's the big prize of the night. 155 delegates.
And we can report the following projection from the election desk at NBC News and MSNBC. On the Democratic side, you see there Hillary Clinton is being awarded the state of Arkansas. When all the votes are counted, we're projecting she will be the winner.
Take a look at this. On the Republican side, these are estimates based on our exit poll information. Donald Trump slightly ahead, 34%. Ted Cruz, 30%. Marco Rubio, 25%. These are close numbers. This is an exit poll based on the CNN estimates. Remember, these are estimates based on our early survey of voters as they left their polling locations. The final outcome may be different. We can expect those numbers to change throughout the night. For Ted Cruz, but we have projected now Virginia. Virginia goes to Donald Trump. Let's take a look at the states that have been won right now by both of these candidates, all three of them, in fact. Trump wins Georgia, Alabama, Massachusetts, Tennessee, and now Virginia, 5 states. Hillary Clinton wins Georgia, Virginia, Alabama, Tennessee, and Arkansas, 5 states. Bernie Sanders, he wins his home state of Vermont. So 5 states for Donald Trump, 5 states for Hillary Clinton, 1 state for Bernie Sanders so far. Democratic presidential primary, Ted Cruz, the sitting senator from Texas, he will win the Republican primary in Texas. His first win of the night. Hillary Clinton wins in Texas. Ted Cruz wins in Texas. Let's take a look at some of the votes actually coming in from Texas right now. On the Democratic side, 9 has been counted. She's got a sizable lead. Hillary Clinton with 66.6%. Bernie Sanders only 31.5%. We have projected Hillary Clinton wins Texas. On the Republican side, a bit closer, but Ted Cruz is the winner. A third of the Republican vote is now in. Ted Cruz with 39.2%. Donald Trump with 28.2%. 19% for Marco Rubio. We've got some more votes coming in right now. First, on the Republican side, let's take a look at this. In Oklahoma right now, Ted Cruz slightly ahead of Donald Trump and Marco Rubio. 33.8% for Cruz, 30% for Donald Trump, 23.7% for Marco Rubio. Very close, a third of the vote, 37% of the vote is in Oklahoma. In Arkansas, only 12% of the vote is in, but Donald Trump has a slight lead right now. Donald Trump with 32.5%, Marco Rubio 29.5%, Ted Cruz slightly behind, 25.2%. That's in Arkansas right now. Take a look at Vermont right now, the Republican contest there. Donald Trump maintaining his lead, but only a quarter of the vote is in, 33.2% for Trump. John Kasich with 30.5%, Marco Rubio 19%.
Speaking of Oklahoma, we have a second call on the Democratic side. Bernie Sanders has extended his reach tonight. The winner of the Democratic Oklahoma primary, 52% to 41% with about half of the vote in.
We've got a major projection, a big one right now. Take a look at this. We'll watch together with all of our viewers. CNN projects Ted Cruz, the Texas senator, will win the Oklahoma Republican presidential primary. It's a second win after Texas. That is an important win for Ted Cruz tonight, not just one state, Texas, but also neighboring Oklahoma as well. Ted Cruz wins. Take a look at the actual vote that has come in so far. 65% of the vote is in, relatively close, but Cruz is the winner, 34.7%, 29.5% for Trump, 24% for Marco Rubio. A very big win for Ted Cruz in Oklahoma so far. Let's take a look at the states that have already been projected by CNN so far on the Republican side. Georgia, Alabama, Massachusetts, Tennessee, Virginia, 5 states we've projected will go to Donald Trump. On the Republican side, Texas and Oklahoma, we have projected will go for Ted Cruz. 2 states for Ted Cruz so far, 5 states for Donald Trump. Remember, Ted Cruz also won Iowa, so that's 3 states that he has won so far. Look at this, 74% of the vote is in. Trump is slightly ahead of John Kasich, well ahead of Marco Rubio's in third place, 32.2% for Trump, 30.7% for John Kasich. Only a difference of 705 votes. That's in Vermont right now. We're watching that closely. In Arkansas, it's also a contest. 79% of the vote is in. Trump is ahead in Arkansas, 33.8% to Ted Cruz, 29.4%. Marco Rubio in third place by 24.7%. But Trump does have a lead of 12,332 that potentially could be significant in Arkansas. In Massachusetts, on the Democratic side right now, 87% of the vote is in. Hillary Clinton is slightly ahead of Bernie Sanders, 50.6% to 48.2%. But that's a lead right now of 23,460 votes for Hillary Clinton. Once again, 87%. 87% of the vote is in. There are some caucus states we want to update you on right now as well. The Democratic caucuses in Colorado, only 16% of the vote is in. But look at this. Bernie Sanders is ahead of Hillary Clinton, 57.3% to 41.4%. In Minnesota, similarly, very early, only 6% of the vote has been counted, but Bernie Sanders is ahead of Hillary Clinton, 59.3% to 40.6%. In the Republican caucuses in Minnesota, bigger numbers have been counted already. 79% have been counted. And Marco Rubio has a significant lead, 37.3%. Ted Cruz, 28%. Donald Trump, 21%.
We interrupt the Cruz event with news that won't go over big at Cruz headquarters, and that is that Donald Trump has now been projected by this news organization as the victor in Arkansas. At 11:20 Eastern Time, we are back with a call. The Minnesota GOP caucus goes to Marco Rubio, but Rubio nonetheless the GOP caucus in Minnesota.
Fox News can now project that Bernie Sanders will defeat Hillary Clinton in Colorado's Democratic presidential primary. So that means that Bernie Sanders tonight wins Vermont, wins Oklahoma, and now wins Colorado. So Bernie Sanders with at least 3 wins tonight so far.
This is a first for the campaign cowboys, but apparently Fox News can now project that Bernie Sanders is going to win the caucuses in Minnesota.
And we are also ready to make a call in Massachusetts. Fox News projects that Hillary Clinton will beat Bernie Sanders in that state's Democratic presidential primary.
Vermont. Let's change our call. Because more data has come in. We have gone from apparent winner to projected winner, meaning it's more than just the math. It's math plus models plus human intelligence. 33% to 30%. 19 and change to almost 18,000 with 92% of the raw vote in. Another state on the projected pile for Donald Trump.
We do have a key race alert. Let's take a look at the last contest. Still outstanding. Alaska right now, 6% of the vote is in. Donald Trump is ahead, 34.2%. Ted Cruz in second place, 29.9%. Marco Rubio in third place, 18.4%. Very early. Remember, Alaska, 28 delegates at stake.
Just moments ago, we called the race in Alaska. The Republican caucus is there. Now, with nearly all the votes counted, CNN has projected that Ted Cruz, he is the winner of the Republican caucuses in Alaska. You can see right there, 97% of the precincts reporting Ted Cruz with a 577 vote lead. A 577 vote lead.
It was billed as the biggest night of the election so far, and it's delivered in a big way. For the Republicans, Donald Trump might be too big to fail. He padded his delegate lead with wins in state after state. Let's show you those states right now. Donald Trump, he has won 7 states: Georgia, Alabama, Massachusetts, Tennessee, Virginia, Arkansas, and Vermont. Ted Cruz has won Texas and Oklahoma. Marco Rubio, he has won in Minnesota. The caucus is there. On the Democratic side, Hillary Clinton has won 7 states as well: Georgia, Virginia, Alabama, Tennessee, Arkansas, Texas, and Massachusetts. Bernie Sanders, he's won 4 states: Vermont, Oklahoma, Colorado, and Minnesota.
I was elected, who knew me as mayor, knew me as congressman, and know me as senator, have voted so strongly to put us in the White House. Thank you so much.
They have weaved such a complex web, it will be very, very difficult to untangle it. But I'm not ready to quit trying to untangle it.
We began with 17 Republican candidates. Through the first 4 states, the race narrowed considerably. Tonight was another decision.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. What a Super Tuesday.
Tonight I can say that we have absolutely exceeded expectations. We are running right now neck and neck with Donald Trump in the state of Vermont with the race.
We are so excited to be home, and we are so excited about what lies ahead for America. We are so excited about what lies ahead for our campaign.
So many places. You go to different places in China, different places in Asia, different places in the Middle East. You look at some of the airports they have. You look at the roadways they have. You look at the transportation systems they have and the trains they have. We're like a third.
Millions of good jobs lost. Communities devastated. The jobs moved overseas. Only one candidate for president has consistently fought trade deals that ship Michigan jobs overseas. Sanders opposed the disastrous NAFTA trade deal, opposed special trade status with China. Now he's opposing the Trans-Pacific trade deal. While others waffle, Bernie is fighting hundreds of thousands in new job losses. For jobs, for us, Bernie.
I'm Bernie Sanders, and I approve this message.
Donald Trump is a phony, a fraud. His promises are as worthless as a degree from Trump University. He's playing the members of the American public for suckers. He gets a free ride to the White House, and all we get is a lousy hat.
Good evening, and welcome to the fabulous Fox Theater in downtown Detroit.
Here they are. Businessman Donald Trump. Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Florida Senator Marco Rubio, and Ohio Governor John Kasich. Romney on Trump, quote, the bullying, the greed, the showing off, the misogyny, the absurd third-grade theatrics.
Well, look, he was a failed candidate. He should have beaten President Obama very easy.
But in the past week, you've mocked Mr. Trump's tan. You've made fun of his spelling. You called him a con artist. You suggested he wet himself backstage at the last debate, along with other vulgar jokes and jabs. So what happened?
Yeah, you know, Brett, let me say something. This campaign for the last year, Donald Trump has basically mocked everybody with personal attacks.
I have to say this. He hit my hands. Nobody has ever hit my hands. I've never heard of this one. Look at those hands. Are they small hands? And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee it. Just for the record, I've won 10. He's won 3 or 4. Last week, in fact, on Tuesday, I was 500,000 votes higher than him. I was 1 million votes higher than Marco. 1 million votes. That's a lot of votes. And was by far in first place. So I keep hearing that he's the only one that can beat me, but he's getting beaten very, very badly. So where does this come from?
Someone who thinks the Nuclear Triad is a rock band from the 1980s.
Oh, yeah.
To someone who time and again on issue
down to
of
50.
all the people on the stage, he performs the worst against Hillary Clinton.
Wrong. I beat Hillary Clinton. I beat Hillary Clinton in many polls. I beat Hillary Clinton in many polls.
If you're our nominee,
excuse me, I think I'm talking.
Hold on,
well, excuse me,
I beat Hillary Clinton in many
Hold on.
I hope you can
The audience cannot understand when you're talking over each other.
Mitt Romney proposed that Republicans should vote for Senator Rubio in Florida. They should vote for you in Ohio. They should vote for Senator Cruz in states that he can beat Mr. Trump to prevent Mr. Trump from getting the nomination.
He talks about these great businesses that he's built. He inherited over $100 million.
Wrong.
And with that money, he lost more money than
Wrong. Mr. Trump,
he talks about how he wants to create jobs in America. He can start tonight by...
This little guy has lied so much about my record.
There we go. The person...
He has lied so much about my record.
Mr. Rubio, Senator Rubio, why don't you let him
And I will tell you this. First of all, I got a call from my sister and brother tonight. And they said, we had no idea Dad gave you $200 million.
Because he doesn't have answers. And he's asking us to make him the president of the United States of America.
I know.
This is not a game.
I know what's happening with the economy. You don't know.
Well, then answer the economy
You haven't employed in your life one person.
But he doesn't answer
I've
the
employed
economy
tens
question.
of thousands of people.
You haven't
employed one person.
You ever heard of Trump Steaks? You ever heard of Trump
You know what? You know what?
All
Take a
of
look
these
at Trump
companies that
Steaks.
he's ruined.
By the way, that's
Trump
the other
Steaks
thing.
is gone. You've ruined these
Mitt Romney
He's not
came
gonna
up
make
with
America
things that were
great.
false. Totally false.
Let's see if he answers it.
I will. Don't worry about it, Marco. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, little Marco. I will.
All right, well, let's hear Big Don. Donald.
Don't worry about it, Don't worry about it, little Marco.
Gentlemen,
gentlemen. You ought to show up.
Gentlemen, you got to do better than this.
This guy has the #1.
Mr. Trump, may I ask you, Mr. Trump, I'd like to ask you a policy question. Your proposed tax cut.
That's why the people in Florida do not like them.
Exactly what I would cut. It's easy to say it, but one of the great disconnects to all the people, all of the voters, I understand the folks who are supporting Donald right now. You're angry. You're angry at Washington, and he uses angry rhetoric.
The last person that Hillary Clinton wants to face is Donald Trump. That I can.
All right. Let's move on. And with all due respect, we have questions. We have questions.
That I can tell you.
No. Hold on. We can do more of this later. So, Mr. Trump. Hi.
Hello.
How you doing?
Nice to be with you, Megan.
It's great to have you here.
You're looking well. You're looking well.
As are you.
It's part of the law. I take advantage of that. There's nothing wrong with it. We have no choice.
All right. Donald, you could resolve this issue very quickly by simply releasing the New York Times tape. Because, listen, maybe it's right that you didn't tell them you're misleading the American people.
The tapes were not on the subject.
If you didn't tell them that, the tapes will prove you're innocent.
Okay.
But if, in fact, you went to Manhattan and said, I'm lying to the American people, then the voters have a right to know.
No, you're the liar. You're the lying guy up here. You're the one. You're the one.
Release the
You're
tape.
the one. Now, let me just tell you. Let me just say, excuse me. I've given my answer, Lion Ted. I've given my answer.
What?
And they watched their husband on television flying into the World Trade Center, flying into the Pentagon, and probably trying to fly into the White House, except we had some very, very brave souls on that third plane. All right? Did tremendously well and made a lot of money by taking the course.
Go ahead, Senator.
Well, you're going to see. You're going to see. You don't know.
Go ahead. It's Senator Ruiz.
No, I've read the affidavit. No. Before they had the information.
Go on my website, MarcoRubio.com.
Before they had the information.
Wait. Senator Rubio, stand by. Let him finish his point quickly, and then I'll give you the floor.
It is right now an A.
They said that the plaintiffs against you are like the Madoff victims.
Oh,
this is what the Court of Appeals said.
Give me a proof.
And he's trying to con people into giving them their vote, just like he conned these people into giving them their money.
Let me tell you, the real con artist, excuse me, the real con artist is Senator Marco Rubio, who was elected in Florida and who has the worst voting record in the United States Senate.
No, as you can see in his answer, it's always the same thing.
You defrauded the
challenged on a point.
Little Marco.
He's defrauded people out of things, and not just...
4 times in a presidential race.
It's a minor civil case.
Donald, learn not to interrupt.
There are many civil cases.
Count to 10, Donald. Count to 10. Count to 10.
And he was the primary supporter of John Roberts, who gave us Obamacare. No, it's not. You take a look. He was the primary supporter. He pushed John Roberts and pushed him, and Bush ultimately appointed him. He got appointed. And when it came his time to raise his hand and kill Obamacare, not once but twice, he let us down.
But let me point out,
not what you say in the op-ed. That is not what you said in the op-ed.
Donald, please, I know it's hard not to interrupt.
But it's not what you said in the op-ed.
Breathe.
Lion Ted.
Breathe. You can do it. You can breathe. I know it's hard. I know it's hard, but just...
When they're done with the yoga, can I answer a question?
You cannot. I really hope that we don't see yoga on this stage.
Well, he's very flexible, so you never know.
Believe me, he is not a leader. Believe me.
But that doesn't answer the question.
He didn't interrupt you, let him talk.
Putin said about me. I didn't say about Putin. Putin said very nice things about me. And I say very nicely, wouldn't it be nice if actually we could get along with Russia, we could get along with foreign countries, instead of spending trillions and trillions of dollars? You're talking about Flint, Michigan. You're talking about places. We need to rebuild the infrastructure of our country. Wouldn't it be nice if we got along with the world, and maybe Russia could help us in our quest to get rid of ISIS?
Here's a clip.
I'll have to see this.
If elected, Trump promised that the dictatorial duo would, quote, make tyranny great again.
I think I'd get along very well with Vladimir Putin. I just think so.
That was your campaign video, sir.
That was a pretty good one.
Well, okay.
Let me just take you around the world, okay? Look, I'm going to take you very quickly.
Can you definitively say you will support the Republican nominee, even if that nominee is Donald J. Trump? Senator Rubio, yes or no?
I'll support the Republican nominee.
Will support Donald Trump if he's the nominee?
Yes, because I gave my word that I would.
So if he ends up as the nominee, sometimes he makes it a little bit hard, but, you know, I will support whoever is the Republican nominee for president.
Can you definitively say tonight that you will definitely support the Republican nominee for president, even if it's not you?
Even if it's not me? And I'm going to give them some credit, too, even though they don't deserve it. But the answer is yes, I will.
And that'll do it for the 11th Republican primary debate of the 2016 presidential race.
Here it comes.
$500 billion in federal spending, specifying exactly what I would cut. It's easy to say it.
Going up and down on his lip.
But one of the great disconnects to all the people, all of the voters, I understand the folks who are supporting Donald right now. You're angry. You're angry at Washington, and he uses angry rhetoric.
He needs it. Oh, no.
I'm leaving the campaign trail.
Race alert. I want to update our viewers right now on what's going on in Kansas. Take a look at these numbers coming in the Republican caucuses in Kansas. 3% of the vote is now in. Ted Cruz holding up a lead. He's got 52.6%. Donald Trump in second place, 21.1%. Marco Rubio with 14.5%. 10.1% for John Kasich. CNN is now ready for its first projection of the day. CNN can project that Ted Cruz is the winner of the Kansas Republican presidential caucuses. Ted Cruz picks up another win. This is his fifth win so far. Ted Cruz wins Kansas. He's been doing really well in all the numbers that have been coming in. Let's share those numbers with you. Here's the vote where it stands right now. With 43% of the vote is in, Ted Cruz is ahead 49% to Donald Trump, 24.7%. Marco Rubio with 14.8%. John Kasich only 9.9%. We got a key race alert. The first numbers we're actually getting in from the Republican caucuses in Kentucky. Only 1% in so far, if that. Ted Cruz slightly, very, very slightly ahead. It's a real battle underway right now with Donald Trump. Ted Cruz, he's at 32%. Donald Trump's at 31.5%. But look at this. Only 4 votes separate the two of them right now. As I said, these are the initial numbers in the state of Kentucky. So we're getting more votes in from the Republican caucuses in Maine right now. And Cruz still maintains his lead, although it's narrowed a little bit. 43% for Cruz. Donald Trump, he's at 36.6%. Kasich is down 11.1%. Rubio is at 7.8%. According to the Democratic Party, an official statement coming in, Bernie Sanders has won the Kansas Democratic presidential caucuses. Bernie Sanders is the winner in Kansas. They say 90% of the vote has been counted. 40,000 people participated. Bernie Sanders picks up another win tonight. He wins Kansas in the Democratic caucuses.
Coming in first in the Maine caucuses is Senator Ted Cruz with 45.84% of the vote. Second is Donald Trump with 32.55% of the vote. Coming in third is Governor John Kasich with 12.17% of the vote. And fourth, with 8.00% of the vote, is Senator Marco Rubio.
Well, we're ready to make a projection right now based on the information just provided by the Democratic chairman in Nebraska. Watch this. And CNN will is projecting right now that Bernie Sanders will win the state of Nebraska, the Democratic presidential caucuses in Nebraska. This is his second win of the night. Earlier, we projected he's the winner in Kansas, the Democratic presidential caucuses in Kansas. Right there, Bernie Sanders picks up win number 2 tonight. You see Bernie Sanders with 54.8%, Hillary Clinton 45.2%. CNN projects that Hillary Clinton will win the Louisiana Democratic presidential primary. The polls just closed there, but based on all the information we're getting, CNN projects Hillary Clinton is the winner. This is her first win of the night. She wins in Louisiana. Hillary Clinton with 71.1%. Bernie Sanders with 21.4%. Hillary Clinton is the winner in the only primary of the night, Louisiana.
Take all states.
CNN projects Donald Trump wins the Louisiana Republican primary. That's his first win of the night. Ted Cruz has won in Kansas. He's won in Maine. We now project Donald Trump is the winner in Louisiana. That's an important win. The only primary contest of the night. CNN projects Donald Trump will win Kentucky. The Republican caucuses in Kentucky. Donald Trump will win in Kentucky. Donald Trump wanted this win. And let's take a look at the votes in Kentucky right now. There you see it right now. 84% of the vote is in. Donald Trump with 35.1%. Ted Cruz 31.4%. A close race, but Donald Trump, CNN projects, is the winner.
Let me thank you for the dedication and the hard work you do in the political process.
We are one left-wing justice away from a radical 5-justice liberal majority, the likes of which this court has never seen. We are one liberal justice.
Whoa! Thank you. There are so many people here that I've had a chance
I met the
to work with.
Terminator in 2010 when I was running for governor. He's been a friend of mine for a long time. And when Schwarzenegger came in, I said,
it's been an amazing night. And I'll tell you what, I've been in competitions all of my life. There is nothing so exciting as this stuff. Nothing.
We need John Kasich to now take charge and be at the White House. And this is why I endorse John Kasich, our great governor, to be our Republican nominee and to be the next president of the United States of America, the greatest country in the world.
Now, Nancy Reagan, the former First Lady of the United States, has passed away. Very sad moment for all of us, especially those of us who covered Nancy Reagan so many of those years, those wonderful years when her husband was president of the United States. Nancy Reagan has passed away at the age of 94. We're going to have extensive coverage of Mrs. Reagan, beginning with a look back at her remarkable years.
Ronnie and Nancy, it was truly an American love story.
I can't imagine marriage being any other way but the way that Ronnie's and mine was. And I guess that's unusual.
A little bit of a miracle too, right? Something in the gods brought you together.
Fortunately.
A relationship not based on politics or power, but simply admiration and affection.
Together we're going a long, long way.
Born Anne Frances Robbins in New York City, she lived and grew up in Chicago, known by the nickname Nancy. As an adult, she headed west to Hollywood to become an actress.
She signed with MGM. She became part of that family.
At first, Nancy Davis was busy, but in 1949, she found her name on a list of suspected communist sympathizers in danger of being blacklisted from the business. The person on the list turned out to be another actress with the same name, but Nancy wanted reassurance. She turned to a friend for help, who set up a meeting with the president of the Screen Actors Guild, a dashing leading man named Ronald Reagan. And thus began one of Hollywood's and Washington's most enduring romances. In fact, one of her last screen appearances was playing opposite her future husband in a movie called Hellcats of the Navy. Soon after, they wed. They raised a family, including their children, Patty and Ron Jr., and her husband's 2 children, Maureen and Michael, from his previous marriage to Jane Wyman. In 1966, Ronald Reagan began a second career as a full-time politician and was elected governor of the nation's largest state, California.
Discharge the duties upon which
Nancy was always at his side and always gazing at him with that loving stare.
It was for real, the adoration that they had for each other.
Congratulate you, sir.
That I don't remember thinking anything except that, my gosh, here he is, and he's president.
My Ronnie.
My Ronnie.
After her husband's presidential inauguration, Nancy Reagan's signature was appearing in designer gowns, especially red ones. She also redecorated the White House, both moves drawing heavy criticism. But she had her own special grit, especially after an assassin's bullet struck her husband. She never left the hospital, Few knew then how close the president came to dying, just a couple of months into his first term.
Yes.
Touch and go.
Yes, it was. I almost lost him.
She also battled breast cancer and survived. Through it all, she had many admirers, and some critics, too. Chief among them, her husband's former chief of staff, Donald Regan, who wrote a blistering book about her, including the fact that she sometimes consulted an astrologer.
He's chosen to attack my wife, and I don't look kindly upon that at all.
She also used her influence to launch an anti-drug program, which was reduced to a simple phrase. When a young girl asked for advice and the First Lady said simply, "Just say no."
I didn't mean that that was the whole answer, obviously, but it did serve a purpose.
After she and her husband left Washington, she needed her stamina more than ever after Ronald Reagan was diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
It's sad to see somebody you love and have been married for so long, and you can't share memories. That's the sad part.
Through it all, she never lost her optimism.
Do you ever feel that fate treated you badly?
No, No, when you balance it all out, I've had a pretty fabulous life.
In 2004, President Ronald Reagan died. In one of her final public appearances, the celebration of the centennial of Ronald Reagan's birth, she said,
I know that Ronnie would be thrilled, and is thrilled, to have all of you share in his 100th birthday. Doesn't seem possible, but that's what it is.
Nancy Reagan, a strong woman in her own right, remembered also for her steady, unflinching devotion to her husband, both in and out of the spotlight.
And welcome to the Whiting Auditorium on the campus of the Flint Cultural Center in Flint, Michigan for a special CNN Democratic presidential debate. Please welcome Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont. Please welcome former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Before we begin tonight, we want to take a moment to remember former First Lady Nancy Reagan.
We're going to stop this kind of job exporting, and we're going to start importing and growing jobs again in our country.
Senator Sanders, I'll let you. Yeah,
I am very glad, Anderson, that Secretary Clinton has discovered religion on this issue.
Well, I'll tell you something else that Senator Sanders was against. He was against the auto bailout.
If you are talking about the Wall Street bailout, where some of your friends destroyed this economy.
You know.
Excuse me, I'm talking.
Let him respond.
If you're going to talk, tell the whole story, Senator
Let
Sanders.
me tell my story, you tell yours.
I will.
Your story is for voting for every disastrous trade agreement and voting for corporate America. One of us has given speeches on Wall Street for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, I kind of think if you get paid a couple of $100,000 for a speech, must be a great speech. I think we should release it and let the American people see what that transcript was.
And I have said, and I will say again, I'll be happy to release anything I have as long as everybody else does too.
Enough for you that she'll release it when all the Republicans and Democrats release it?
Everybody else to release it. Well, I'm your Democratic opponent. I release it. Here it is. There ain't nothing. I don't give speeches to Wall Street for hundreds of thousands of dollars. You got it. So that new jobs in manufacturing, in some cases today, pay 50% less than they did 20 years ago. How stupid is that trade policy?
All business owners
I'll tell you what I say.
Rely on the banks to make their companies
I'll tell you
profitable.
what I say. Do you know what the other name of the Export-Import Bank is, what it's called in Washington? It's called the Bank of Boeing. because Boeing itself gets 40% of the money discharged by the Export-Import Bank.
Sanders, though, you were the only member of the Democratic caucus to vote against it. You're agreeing with Senator Ted Cruz on this. Why is he right and the Democrats wrong?
Well, let me tell you, I don't want to break the bad news. Democrats are not always right. Democrats have often supported corporate welfare.
From the companies that they are from in the countries that provide the support.
Thank you. Thank you,
Isn't
Senator
it
Sanders.
tragic that these large multinational corporations making billions of dollars a year, shutting down in America, going to China, going to Mexico, oh, absolutely they need a handout from the American middle class. I don't think so.
But a lot of folks in the black community blame the 1994 crime bill, a bill you supported, for locking up a generation of black men. Given what's happened since 1994, why should black people trust you to get it right this time?
Well, Don, let me say this. Senator Sanders voted for that bill. We both supported it.
Opportunities to lead, however, to be frank, are often at the feet of older, Caucasian men and women.
You're not talking about me, are you? When I was a young man at the University of Chicago, I worked with fellow black and white students trying to desegregate University of Chicago-owned housing.
In 1996, you used the term super predators to describe some young kids. Some feel like it was racial code. Was it, and were you wrong to use that term?
Well, I was speaking about drug cartels and criminal activity that was very concerning. First, we've got to regulate everything that is currently underway, and we have to have a system in place that prevents further fracking unless conditions like the ones that I just mentioned are met.
Senator Sanders,
my answer is a lot shorter. No, I do not support fracking.
To Secretary Clinton's point, there are a number of Democratic governors in many states who say that fracking can be done safely and that it's helping their economies. Are they wrong?
Yes. You know, we are, if elected president, going to invest a lot of money into mental health. And when you watch these Republican debates, you know why we need to invest in mental health.
And if I'm fortunate enough to be the nominee, that's exactly what I will do.
Senator Sanders, I want to ask you basically the same question. He's called you a communist. How are you going to...
That was one of the nice things that he said about me.
I want to thank both the candidates. While we've been debating tonight, CNN has learned that a labor union fund has committed $25 million in low-interest loans to help replace lead-contaminated pipes. I want to thank the candidates, the Democratic National Committee.
Marco Rubio is the winner in Puerto Rico today, taking in 73.6% of the vote, with 25% of the precincts reporting there. Again, Marco Rubio with a wide lead. CNN projecting he will be the winner in Puerto Rico. 23 delegates up for grabs there.
And during tonight's debate, we actually found out Sanders won today's caucuses in Maine, and there was a big turnout for Democrats in Maine, more than we saw for Republicans, significantly more. And as you can see, for the overall numbers here in Maine, a big win for Bernie Sanders, 64% to about 36%.
Welcome to a special edition of Special Report. I'm Brett Baer, coming to you from the Gem Theater in downtown Detroit.
I believe that health care is a right of all people. I believe that there is something wrong when we are spending...
Excuse me, where did that right come from in your mind?
Being a human being. Being a human being.
Who's your favorite Republican?
I'll tell you something funny. I won't tell you I have favorite Republicans, people I work with. If I tell you that person, it will be a disservice to that person.
Is a little bit kind of funny is when I'm not running for something, the Republicans say really nice things about me, and I have like a whole archive of those comments. More help for non-tuition costs, so more young people can actually start college and complete college. And okay, I'd be glad to tell you, absolutely, because it's different from Senator Sanders. So let me, if I've got time, do I have time, Brett? Okay.
Thank you all. That wraps up our special
Mr. Trump, I'd like to ask you about something you've been doing
rather recently at your rallies, which is having your supporters raise their right hand and say, I pledge to vote for Donald Trump. Now, as you know, a still image of that at your rallies has gone around the internet, and some people have been quite disturbed by that image. And in fact, Abe Foxman, who's a Holocaust survivor, says it reminds him of the Nazi salute. I wonder how you feel about that comparison and whether it would make you want to perhaps not do it anymore if people do feel that way.
Well, I think it's ridiculous. I mean, we're having such a great time. Yesterday, I had 20,000 people in Mississippi. I had tremendous crowds in Michigan. And sometimes we'll do it for fun, and they'll start screaming at me, "Do the swearing, do the swearing." I mean, they're having such a great time. They're massive crowds. I get, by far the biggest crowds, and we're having a good time. Honestly, until this phone call, I didn't know it was a problem. We were all, And,
well, in light of that, does that make you reflect on it?
Almost everybody in the room raises their hand. We're having a good time.
The Hungry for Power Games. As retired neurosurgeon and Ambien American Ben Carson announced he was leaving the race. So, let us bid farewell to the fallen.
Overseas in more than 170 countries cast votes in this primary, and it turns out those Democrats living abroad really like Bernie Sanders. Senator Sanders, the projected winner of the Democrats abroad primary by a margin of 69 to 31.
And CNN projects that Hillary Clinton will win the Mississippi Democratic presidential primary. Another win for Hillary Clinton in Mississippi tonight. Hillary Clinton is the winner in Mississippi. We also have a key race alert on the Republican side right now. On the Republican side, take a look at this. These are estimates based on our exit polls. As of right now, Donald Trump is with 49% based on the exit poll, 36% for Ted Cruz. Marco Rubio and John Kasich, they're distantly back at only 7% each. So CNN projects Donald Trump will win the Mississippi Republican presidential primary. An important win for Donald Trump tonight. He's won 12 so far coming into tonight. This is his 13th win so far. Donald Trump, we project, is the winner of the Mississippi Republican presidential primary. All eyes are on Michigan right now. Donald Trump, CNN projects, is the winner in the Michigan Republican presidential primary. His second win of the night. A key race alert right now in the state of Michigan. 52% of the vote is now in. Look at how close it is. Bernie Sanders, he was not ahead in the polls going into Michigan, but he is ahead right now. 51.7%. 46.5%. Actually, there's a pretty significant lead right now. That's a lead of 27,415. 271,051 for Bernie Sanders. 243,636 for Hillary Clinton. That's a pretty significant lead with more than half of the vote now in. This first time we have some votes coming in from Idaho, where there's a Republican primary. 3% of the vote is in. Ted Cruz has a lead right now at 38.5%. Marco Rubio's in second place with 28.4%. Donald Trump in third place, 22.3%. John Kasich is in fourth place with 7%. But this is very, very early. Cruz has a lead of 447 votes over Marco Rubio right now. Bernie Sanders is the winner in the Michigan Democratic primary. This is an upset. None of the polls going in thought he was going to win. The two campaigns thought Hillary Clinton was going to win. Bernie Sanders, though, emerges as the winner in the Michigan Democratic primary, beating Hillary Clinton. Let's take a look at the vote where it stands right now. Bernie Sanders with 50% of the vote. He's 21,539 votes ahead of Hillary Clinton with 96% of the vote in. Bernie Sanders has clearly upset Hillary Clinton in Michigan. And there it is. CNN projects Ted Cruz, the winner of the Idaho Republican primary. This is his first win of the night. Donald Trump had two other wins in Mississippi and Michigan, but Ted Cruz is now the winner of the Idaho Republican primary. And there you can see the vote right now as it stands. 42.9% for Ted Cruz, 28.2% for Donald Trump, 18% for Marco Rubio, 7.2% for John Kasich. 56% of the vote is in. A big win in Idaho. Impressive win for Ted Cruz right now.
We interrupt our election programming right now with some breaking news. NBC News projecting Donald Trump will win the Hawaii Republican caucus. Donald Trump, you see there, 45% in, 45% lead there with 48% in. There are 19 delegates there. Ted Cruz trailing at 31% with 48% in, and Marco Rubio well behind that with just a third or so of what Cruz has at 12%. John Kasich rounding it out at 10%.
And I have a feeling that you want to see this country move toward a political revolution.
$38 million worth of horrible lies, but that's okay. It shows you how brilliant the public is, because they knew they were lies, and it was just really amazing to watch.
It is time to unite behind Ted Cruz, ladies and gentlemen, the next president of the United States.
Demócrata. En vivo desde el Miami-Dade College en la Florida, con ustedes, María Elena Salinas y Jorge Ramos.
Now we're going to welcome the protagonists of this debate. First, former Secretary of State Hillary Rodham Clinton. Senator for Vermont, Bernie Sanders.
What went wrong in Michigan? What failed in Michigan specifically?
It was a very close race. We've had some of those. I've won some, I've lost some, but you know, I was very pleased by the overall outcome last night.
To operate your email system as you did, was it President Barack Obama? And would you drop out of the race if you get indicted?
Well, Jorge, there's a lot of questions in there, and I'm going to give the same answer I've been giving for many months. It wasn't the best choice. I made a mistake. It was not prohibited. It had been done by my predecessors. It was permitted. I didn't have to ask anyone.
If you get indicted, would you drop out?
Oh, for goodness, that is not going to happen. I'm not even answering that question. I called him out when he was calling Mexicans rapists, when he was engaging in rhetoric that I found deeply offensive. I said, basta, and I am pleased that...
My dad was born in Poland. I know a little bit about the immigrant experience. Nobody has ever asked me for my birth certificate. Maybe it has something to do with the color of my skin.
In 2003, you said on a radio show, specifically it was John Gamblin's radio show in New York, that you were adamantly against illegal immigrants and that people have to stop employing illegal immigrants. Your new immigration plan is that you would expand President Obama's executive actions and that you would push for legislation that would include a path to citizenship for undocumented immigrants. So are you flip-flopping on this issue, or are you pandering to Latinos, what some would call Hispandering?
Well,
Eliot Spitzer, who wanted to do the right thing and provide driver's license to those who were undocumented, she said, don't do it. And New York State still does not do it.
And then he sided with those Republicans to stand with vigilantes known as Minutemen who were taking up outposts along the border to hunt down immigrants.
If you really don't want to be the next deporter-in-chief, can you promise tonight that you won't deport children and that you won't deport immigrants who don't have a criminal record? And this time, could I get a yes or no answer?
Yes, you can.
I don't think that the Secretary fully answered your question. And I think the proof may be in the pudding. So to answer your question, no, I will not deport children from the United States of America.
And can you promise not to deport immigrants who don't have a criminal record?
I can make that promise.
Okay.
What the Secretary is doing tonight, and has done very often, is take large pieces of legislation and take pieces out of it. Madam Secretary, I will match my record against yours any day of the week. When you get paid $225,000, that means that that speech must have been an extraordinarily wonderful speech.
So does this mean that you would not think she would have to disclose?
I would think that a speech so great that you got paid so much money for, you would like to share it with the American people. So I think she should release the transcript.
By President Obama, who, incidentally, took a lot of money from Wall Street, which didn't stop him from signing into law the toughest regulations on the financial industry since the Great Depression.
Clearly, the Secretary's words to Wall Street has really intimidated them. And that is why they have given her $15 million in campaign contributions. The gentleman who is head of Goldman Sachs, now he didn't give me $225,000 for speaking fees. He said I was dangerous, and he is right. I am dangerous for Wall Street.
Secretary Clinton, did you lie to them?
You know, look, I feel a great deal of sympathy for the families of the 4 brave Americans that we lost at Benghazi. This is going to increase the federal government dramatically. And, you know, my dad used to say, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
When Secretary Clinton says, well, 90% of the people have insurance, yeah, not really. Many of you may have insurance, but you have outrageously high deductibles and co-payments. 1 out of 5 Americans cannot afford the prescription drugs their doctors prescribe.
So please explain, what is the difference between the socialism that you profess and the socialism in Nicaragua, Cuba, and Venezuela?
Let me just answer that. What that was about was saying that the United States was wrong to try to invade Cuba, that the United States was wrong trying to support people to overthrow the Nicaraguan government, that the United States was wrong trying to overthrow in 1954 the government, democratically elected government of Guatemala.
If the values are that you oppress people, you disappear people, you imprison people, even kill people for expressing their opinions, for expressing freedom of speech, that is not the kind of revolution of values that I ever want to see anywhere.
In the wealthiest country in the history of the world, if we stand up, fight back, we can do a lot better. That's why I'm running for president.
Secretary, Senator, we want to thank both of you for being here, for joining us tonight. And of course, we want to thank also the wonderful crowd that was here today. Our audience has been wonderful. And thank you all for being here.
All right, we're in beautiful Fayetteville, North Carolina, a special edition of Hannity with a lot of our friends. Thank you for being here. We have for the full hour the leader on the GOP presidential nomination side. Let's give a warm North Carolina, Fayetteville welcome, Mr. Donald Trump.
I know North Carolina very well, by the way, because I have property in North Carolina. You know, in Charlotte.
Is there any state you don't have property
in? Not too many. But actually, I have on Lake Norman. Does anybody know Lake Norman? I've been on the cover of Time magazine like 4 times in a short period of time. Can you believe it? That's crazy. I've been on, I think 2 times in my lifetime, and I've been on 4 times. Politics is really a lot of fun.
They made promises they can't keep. Would you hire? Are there people in your mind that you would want to surround yourself with?
I've never said he was wrong on it.
Oh boy, here we go.
Let me just tell you where you're wrong.
Now I feel like Chris Christie.
Even the people on the stage, like Ted Cruz, I will tell you, they are controlled by the donors. They are controlled by the specialists.
I don't disagree with.
They are controlled. They are controlled by lobbyists. Totally controlled by lobbyists.
Thank you all for being with us, Mr. Trump. Thank you. We appreciate it.
And this is the last debate before that critical round of voting. So now, let's welcome the candidates. Ohio Governor John Kasich. Senator Ted Cruz of Texas. Real estate developer and businessman Donald Trump. Senator Marco Rubio of Florida. Ladies and gentlemen, the Republican candidates for President of the United States. Before we begin this evening, we want to remember former First Lady Nancy Reagan, who passed away this week.
The simple fact of the matter is I wouldn't be standing here. I'd be, maybe running for president of Croatia if we didn't have immigration.
If you look back to Iowa, Ted did change his view and his stance on ethanol quite a bit. He did, and at the end, not full on, but he did change his view in the hopes of maybe doing well. And I think everybody knows that. It was a front page story all over the place, and he did make a change.
But if you have a candidate who has been funding liberal Democrats and funding the Washington establishment, it's very hard to imagine how suddenly this candidate is going to take on Washington.
We're all in this together. We're going to come up with solutions. We're going to find the answers to things. And so far, I cannot believe how civil it's been up here. We talk about free trade. It's not free trade. It's stupid trade.
Last night you told CNN, quote, Islam hates us. Did you mean all 1.6 billion Muslims?
I mean a lot of them. I mean a lot of them. We better expand our laws or we're being a bunch of suckers, and they are laughing at us. They are laughing at us, believe me.
Senator,
we're not knocking out the oil because they don't want to create environmental pollution up in the air. I mean, these are things that nobody even believes. They think we're kidding. They didn't want to knock out the oil because of what it's going to do to the carbon footprint.
Second of all, I don't know where Cuba's going to sue us, but if they sue us in a court in Miami, they're going to lose. Third, some of your critics point to quotes that you've made at these rallies, including February 23rd, I'd like to punch him in the face, referring to a protester. February 27th, in the good old days, they'd have ripped him out of that seat so fast. February 1st, knock the crap out of him, would you? Seriously, okay, just knock the hell. I promise you, I will pay for the legal fees. I promise, I promise.
We have some protesters who are bad dudes. Then I say, hey, do me a favor. Raise your right hand. Do you swear you're going to vote for Donald Trump? Everyone's laughing. We're all having a good time. And, that's why I have much bigger crowds than Ted, because we have a good time at my club. But we're all having a good time. And the next day on the Today Show, and a couple of other places, not too many, because when you look at it, everyone's smiling, laughing, their arms are raised like this. They had pictures, still pictures of people, and they tried to equate it to Nazi Germany. It is a disgrace. First of all, I think I'm going to have the delegates, okay? I think. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. But if somebody doesn't have the delegates, and I guess there's 2 of us up here that can, and there are 2 of us that cannot at this moment. But by the way, that is not meant to be a criticism. That's just a mathematical fact, okay? If 2 of us get up there, I would say this, if Marco, if the governor, if Ted had more votes than me in the form of delegates. I think whoever gets to that top position, as opposed to solving that artificial number that was set by somebody, which is a very random number, I think that whoever gets the most delegates should win. That's what I think.
Well, look, there's some folks in Washington. Donald, you are welcome to be president of the Smithsonian.
He's always saying, I'm the only one that beat Donald in 6 contests, and I beat him. But I beat him in 13 contests. He never mentions that. Special interests, lobbyists, donors, they make large contributions to politicians, and they have total control over those politicians. I don't want anybody to control me but the people right out there.
And that concludes this 12th Republican presidential debate. We want to thank the candidates, the Republican National Committee, the University of Miami, and, of course, each of you for watching. I'm Jake Tapper. Our coverage continues right now.
Talking with him that, you know, there's a lot more alignment philosophically
in St. Louis this morning, Donald Trump's scheduled Chicago rally was canceled before it began after thousands of protesters converged on the University of Illinois Chicago Fieldhouse with the goal of shutting down the rally. It was the night when the passions and anger on both sides of the Donald Trump presidential campaign boiled out onto the streets of Chicago and shut down a scheduled Trump rally. Fights between Trump supporters and protesters broke out across the arena floor, and police made dozens of arrests. Outside, the scene was no less volatile, as thousands of Trump protesters mixed with his supporters as they left the arena. Police made arrests outside the building as well.
A handful of other activists are taken away by law enforcement, the violence impacting police as well as an officer responded bleeding at the scene.
We have the candidate who really will give us a choice, not an echo. So please give a big St. Louis welcome to Donald J. Trump.
I know it's not.
District, the Associated Press says Marco Rubio has won the Republican primary in the city. 19 delegates are at stake. This is Rubio's 3rd win in the presidential race. He also won Minnesota.
Nobody is talking about building a wall around the United States. Of course we're going to trade. Oh, I beg your pardon. There is one guy who is talking about building a wall. If I told you the Republican that I liked the most, they'd probably ruin his political career.
Do it. Do it.
There'll be a 30-second ad. Sanders said he likes this person.
I'm having foreign leaders ask if they can endorse me to stop Donald Trump. I say, no, this is up to Americans. Thank you very much. But I get what you're saying and where you're coming from.
You're not going to tell us who?
Well, some have done it publicly, actually, because we're going to put a lot of coal miners and coal companies out of business. Right, Tim?
Thanks to the candidates and members of the audience for the great questions.
But we begin our second hour today with the results from Super Tuesday 2, the first ones. Donald Trump notches his first win of the day in the Mariana Islands. Welcome to Happening Now. I'm John Scott.
And I'm Heather Childers in for Jenna Lee. Great to be here with you guys.
Good to have you here, Heather.
Exciting day. The candidate, Trump, won all of the territory's 9 delegates. And now we wait for the results from 5 states with contests today: Florida, Illinois, Missouri, North Carolina, and Ohio.
Now, take a look at this. The polls are still open in Florida, at least in the Panhandle, for another half an hour or so. Donald Trump with a significant lead, 45.5% over Marco Rubio, 26.8%. It just changed. 44% of the vote is in. Donald Trump has a lead of almost 200,000 votes, 46.1% over Rubio's 26.7%. 15.8% for Cruz, 6.7% for John Kasich. On the Democratic side, a very impressive lead right now for Hillary Clinton. 289,000 vote lead, in fact, over Bernie Sanders. 66.9%, 30.9% for Bernie Sanders. Remember, these are numbers that are being released in the state of Florida. Counting down to the bottom of the hour right now. That's when the polls close in Ohio. Winner take all for the Republicans. Also, the polls close in North Carolina. We're about to release a CNN exit poll information. We cannot make a projected race alert, though. In Ohio right now, these are the exit polls we have. No projections we can make on the Republican side. Take a look at this. Our estimate, based on the exit poll information, the governor, John Kasich, 45%. Donald Trump, 38%. Ted Cruz, 14%. It's tight in Ohio on the Republican side. Once again, no projection, even though the polls are closed in Ohio. On the Democratic side, Hillary Clinton, based on the exit poll information, she's at 53%. Bernie Sanders, 46%. We cannot make a projection. Let's take a look at North Carolina right now. In North Carolina, look at how tight it is based on the CNN exit poll estimates. Donald Trump, 39%. Ted Cruz, 35%. John Kasich, 13%. Very tight in North Carolina based on the exit polls. On the Democratic side, 54% for Hillary Clinton, 42% for Bernie Sanders. Remember, these are exit polls. The polls are closed in North Carolina and Ohio. We cannot make projections. Remember, these exit polls are estimates based on our early survey. All right, let's get to the key race alert right now. Take a look at this. We've got some Democratic numbers coming in from North Carolina. First of all, 4% of the vote is in. Hillary Clinton has a significant lead, 64% to 34.3% for Bernie Sanders. Her lead is about 13,532 right now. 4% of the vote is in. On the Republican side in North Carolina, 1%, if that, only a handful of votes are in. But Donald Trump has a lead of 40.1% over Ted Cruz, 32%. John Kasich, 14.4%. Marco Rubio, 10.9%. Very, very early, less than 1% of the vote is in. But Trump has a lead in North Carolina. John, thanks very much. We have a key race alert right now, a race we're going to be watching for a while. It looks like in Ohio, 1% of the vote is now in, barely 1%. Very, very early, Donald Trump has a lead, 47.3% over the governor, John Kasich, 33.9%. Cruz is at 9.9%, Rubio at 6.2%. Once again, very, very early. You see only a couple thousand or 3,000 votes are in. Trump has a lead, though, with less than 1% of the vote in. On the Democratic side, 1% also very, very early. Hillary Clinton has a significant lead, 71.4% over Bernie Sanders, 27.3%. But once again, only a tiny, tiny number of numbers have actually come in from Ohio right now. Stand by. We've got some major projections to deliver at the top of the hour, which is right now. A huge win we project for Donald Trump in Florida. Donald Trump will win all 99 delegates. Winner take all in Florida. CNN projects Donald Trump is the big winner in Florida tonight. Huge win for Donald Trump. Also in Florida, another projection. Hillary Clinton, we project, also will win. Florida, a big win for Hillary Clinton in Florida. This is an important moment for Hillary Clinton, important moment for Donald Trump. They both win. Florida, let's get a key race alert right now. We've got key race alerts. We've got a race underway in Missouri, though. Right now, we cannot make projections, but based on the CNN exit poll estimates we have, look at this in Missouri on the Republican side. Ted Cruz is slightly ahead of Donald Trump, 43%. 40% for Donald Trump, 10% for John Kasich in third place. Look at that. Very, very close in Missouri. We have not been able to make a projection. On the Democratic side, look at this. Also, could be a surprise. 51%. 51% for Bernie Sanders, according to our exit poll estimate. 49%. 48% for Hillary Clinton in Missouri. Close race, very, very close in Missouri. Very close on the Republican side and the Democratic side. Let's take a look at Illinois right now. The polls are closed in Illinois. Look at how close it is in Illinois right now. 38% our estimate for Donald Trump based on the exit poll information. 34% for Ted Cruz. Only 19% for John Kasich. In Illinois, on the Democratic side, our estimate, 51% for Bernie Sanders, 49% for Hillary Clinton. Very, very close. We got a race on our hands in Illinois on the Republican and the Democratic side.
Let's go back to Wolf.
He's fighting it.
Thanks very much, Anderson. We're getting ready for the second major projection on the Democratic side right now.
Yeah, where is
CNN
that?
projects Hillary Clinton is the winner in North Carolina. Based on all the information, the actual votes that have come in, the exit poll information, Hillary Clinton wins. Hillary Clinton wins North Carolina. Let's now 12% of the vote is in. The governor, John Kasich, he's ahead of Donald Trump, 44.3% to 32.3% for Donald Trump. Ted Cruz a distant third. Kasich right now with 12% of the vote in. He's ahead by 24,000, almost 25,000 votes. Winner take all in Ohio, 66 delegates at stake. Kasich ahead. In Missouri, very, very early, only less than 1,000 votes are in right now. You can see Donald Trump has 48.6%, 32.3% for Ted Cruz. Marco Rubio, who's just dropped out of the contest, 8.5% in Missouri. Let's take a look at Illinois. Also very early, only a few thousand votes are in. Donald Trump has a lead, 44.2%, 22.4% for Cruz. Kasich, 20.9%. Less than 1% of the vote is in Illinois right now, very early in that contest. In North Carolina, a quarter of the vote is now in. That's a significant number. Trump is ahead in North Carolina, 40.3%, 34.5% for Cruz, 12.6% for Kasich. Trump is ahead by almost 19,000 votes, with a quarter of the vote in North Carolina right now. Let's take a look on the Democratic side. A key race alert. We'll start off in Ohio right now. 10% of the vote is in. Hillary Clinton maintains a significant lead over Bernie Sanders, 67.8% to 31% for Bernie Sanders. She's beating him right now by more than 65,000 votes. 10% of the vote in Ohio is in. Very important state right now, 143 delegates at stake. In Missouri, very early. Maybe 200 or 300 votes are in. You see Hillary Clinton is ahead, 62.7%, 30.8% for Bernie Sanders. But this is very, very early in Missouri. 71 delegates at stake in the state of Missouri. In Illinois, 3% of the vote is now in. Hillary Clinton has a lead, 54.5% to Bernie Sanders, 44%. She's up by almost 5,000 votes. But remember, very early in Illinois, 3% of the vote is in. On a major projection to release to our viewers right now. This is very, very big. CNN projects that John Kasich is the winner of the Ohio Republican presidential primary. This is his first win so far in this election cycle. He needed this win, presumably, to stay in the race. Remember, 66 delegates are at stake in Ohio. It's winner take all. It's a very, very big win for John Kasich. He needed it. He said he would drop out if he didn't carry his own state. CNN projects John Kasich is the winner in Ohio. We have another major projection to report to you right now. Hillary Clinton wins Ohio. Hillary Clinton is the winner of the Ohio Democratic primary. This is another big win for Hillary Clinton. This is what she really wanted. There was fears in her camp that after Michigan she might have some problems, but she does win in Ohio. A big win, a big win.
And Wolf, I'm going to get back to you. I understand we have a projection.
Got another major projection we're about to make right now. Listen to this. CNN projects Donald Trump is the winner of the Illinois Republican presidential primary. This is his second win of the night. Earlier, we projected he's the winner in Florida. All 99 delegates, winner take all in Florida. Not necessarily the case in Illinois, where it's proportional, but it is a big, big win for Donald Trump in Illinois so far. Let's take a look at the states won so far on this night. Donald Trump, we have projected as the winner in Florida and Illinois. John Kasich, we projected as the winner in Ohio. It's a critically important win for him. He stays in the race. On the Democratic side, so far 3 wins for Hillary Clinton: Florida, North Carolina, and Ohio. We're still waiting for Illinois and Missouri. In fact, we have a major projection to make involving North Carolina right now. Watch this. CNN projects Donald Trump is the winner of the Republican primary in North Carolina. This is his third win of the night, a big win for Donald Trump in North Carolina. Earlier, we projected he's the winner in Florida as well as Illinois. Now he wins North Carolina. This is a big win. John, thanks very much. We got a new projection that we have right now. Let's share it with our viewers. CNN projects Hillary Clinton is the winner in Illinois. She wins the Democratic presidential primary in Illinois. This is her 4th big win of the night. Illinois, the state where she was born. Take a look at the actual count right now, with 96% of the vote in. Hillary Clinton has 50.6%. 48.6% for Bernie Sanders. She's ahead now by 36 1,260 votes. That's more than enough to make sure that she is the projected winner. First, let's get to the two races we're watching closely right now. Take a look at this. In Missouri on the Republican side, look at how close it is between Donald Trump and Ted Cruz. Donald Trump has a very, very slight advantage in Missouri right now, 40.8% to 40.7%. Trump is ahead by only 1,636 votes. 99% of the expected vote is in. We're watching Missouri on the Republican side. Similarly, on the Democratic side, look at how close it is between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. She has 49.6%. He has 49.4%. She is ahead now by 1,531 votes. 99% of the expected vote is in. Very, very close. Now, let's take a look at the states won so far on this important night. On the Republican side, Donald Trump, he's won in Florida, Illinois, and North Carolina. John Kasich, he won his home state of Ohio. He needed it. He needed the win to continue. He won Ohio. On the Democratic side, Hillary Clinton so far has won Florida, North Carolina, Ohio, and Illinois. We're only waiting for Missouri. That's the only outstanding race.
So let's take a look.
So Clinton is the apparent winner after a very tight race with Bernie Sanders, less than 1% separating the candidates.
And on the Republican side, Trump was the apparent winner, but it was an even tighter race between
While
him
it is not God's
Ted...
plan that I be president in 2016 or maybe ever, and while today my campaign is suspended.
What excites me so much as I go around the country is to see the incredible energy of hundreds of thousands
Tonight
of
we
people.
continue to gain delegates and continue our march to 1,237.
And yes, our next president has to bring our country together so we can all share in the promise of America. We should be breaking down barriers, not building
You better
walls.
believe it's about America, about pulling us together, not pulling us apart. It is about USA. Exactly.
But to win the states that we won and to win by the margins, and especially, look, this is my second home, Florida, to win by that kind of a number as
Senator Lindsey Graham has endorsed Ted Cruz as the GOP scrambles to block Donald Trump from locking down the Republican nomination for president. The former Republican presidential candidate says he plans to help Cruz in every way he can.
Hungry for power games!
After getting crushed in his home state, Marco Rubio suspended his campaign.
And now, let us bid farewell to the fallen.
Is going to go to the convention. Look, if I hadn't won Ohio, if I had dropped out and Trump had won Ohio, he'd be the nominee. But he didn't.
So to those 70% of Republicans who say you should drop out, you say?
Well, I don't know who they are, and look, all these polls. I mean, people have been telling me all along what the polls are, and the pundits tell me what's going to happen, and they've never been right yet. I think God created pundits to make astrologers look accurate, to tell you the truth. But
let's talk about miracles.
Okay.
All right. You said today there was proof that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob still produce miracles. The proof, you said, is that Lindsey Graham held a fundraiser for you here in Washington today. That's a pretty big miracle.
It was a remarkable miracle. Just a few weeks ago, he was openly calling for my murder. So that's a remarkable thing.
She just doesn't know me. She doesn't know my policy. She doesn't know what I'm going to be doing.
She says you don't have steady hands.
I have the steadiest hands. Look at those hands. I have the steadiest hands, and far steadier than hers. Look where she got us. I mean, look at Libya. Look at the migration. Look at Benghazi. I mean, here's a woman that's talk. She's just writing. You know, she's just reading it off a teleprompter. She's just, all she does, believe me, they write that for her.
You said today, though, you would invite the Prime Minister within the first couple of days of taking office.
Right. Well, I've known him a long time. I mean, that's one of my advantages.
Is it true you guys yell at each other?
Well, let's say we engage in vigorous discussion. And I like that. Look, we have a raucous democracy. Israel has a raucous democracy.
This is no secret. Hillary Clinton is the candidate of the establishment. She is the candidate, the Democratic candidate of the big money interests. She has the support of public officials all over America. What it is also clear is we are running an insurgent campaign. We are the anti-establishment campaign. We are the campaign that is calling for a political revolution.
When I walked into the departure area, the bomb goes off. It was like pure panic which was breaking out. You saw people running out, shouting. And soon after that, I think it's between 1 or 2 minutes, you have the second explosion. I said, this is insane. I said, this is insane. This is like a war zone.
We felt the explosion, the change of pressure in the air. We were about 500 meters from the station. There was some smoke on the tunnel, a little bit of smoke also coming in the train. I feel relief, and I feel scared, but relief that I was okay, that I was alive.
First key race alert of the night for us. The first votes are actually coming in Arizona, and they've come in big time already. 41% of the Democratic primary vote is in Arizona. Look at this. Hillary Clinton with a very impressive lead, 61.5%, to Bernie Sanders, 36.1%. She has 114,000 votes. Bernie Sanders, 67,000 votes. All right, the results are coming in. We got a key race alert right now in Arizona. Look at this on the Republican side. 38% of the vote is now in. Donald Trump has an impressive lead, 45.4%. Ted Cruz at 20.2%. John Kasich down there at 10.8%. We've got a major projection right now. CNN projects that Donald Trump will win the Republican presidential primary in Arizona. This is critically important. It is winner take all for Donald Trump. He gets all 58 of the delegates in the state of Arizona. Our first major projection of the night. There are 4 more contests. We have another major projection to make right now. And CNN projects that Hillary Clinton will win the Arizona Democratic primary. A big win for Hillary Clinton in Arizona right now. 75 delegates are at stake for the Democrats. It's proportional, though, so Bernie Sanders will get some of those delegates. Hillary Clinton won't get them all, but this is a huge win. From Utah right now, the Republican presidential caucuses. Look at this. Ted Cruz, only 2% of the vote is in, but he's got 62% right now. Donald Trump at 23.4%. John Kasich, 14%. Very, very early. Only 2% of the vote is in. 40 delegates at stake. Remember, if Ted Cruz were to win and get 50% plus 1, he would get all of those delegates, 40 delegates. Donald Trump and John Kasich would not get any of those delegates. We'll see what happens. We have a major projection right now. Senator Bernie Sanders, he's the winner in the Utah Democratic presidential caucuses. A big win for Bernie Sanders in Utah right now. He wins the Democratic caucuses in Utah. Earlier, Hillary Clinton was the winner in the Arizona Democratic primary. Let's go.
CNN now has another projection to make in the race for president right now. CNN is projecting that Ted Cruz will win in Utah. I believe we are projecting that Ted Cruz will win in Utah. Control Room, can you verify that? But what we are not projecting yet is whether Ted Cruz will get more than 50% of the vote there. We have more breaking news in the U.S. presidential race. Western elections being held right now, primaries and caucuses. CNN now projects that Bernie Sanders will win the Democratic caucuses in the state of Idaho by a lot. I understand he got more than 75% of the vote there. It could be his biggest win in any state to date other than his home
It's not
state
only
of
do we
Vermont.
have 9,000 people in this room, we got many thousands more in the overflow room.
You know, Shep, it started out as a Twitter battle, and now it's become a shouting match. The basis here is that an anti-Trump super PAC put an ad on Facebook, and it showed Melania Trump nude in a nude photo shoot from 16 years ago. And Donald Trump was furious, and he sent out a tweet to Ted Cruz saying, quote, "Lion Ted Cruz just used a picture of Melania from a GQ shoot." And then Trump goes on to say he was going to spill the beans on Heidi Cruz. Well, Ted Cruz then tweeted back, "The pic of your wife is not from us, Donald. If you try to attack Heidi, you're more of a coward than I thought." And today, Ted Cruz said this about Donald Trump. Play it.
I don't get angry often. But you mess with my wife, you mess with my kids, that'll do it every time. Donald, you're a sniveling coward, and leave Heidi the hell alone.
So will you support him as the nominee?
I'm going to beat him for the nomination. He is not. I am answering the question. Donald Trump will not be the nominee.
Remember, Cruz had said he would support Trump if he were to become the nominee. Keep in mind, everyone was wondering, Shep, what was the beans that Donald Trump threatened to spill? Trump's campaign or former campaign advisor said it might have something to do with marital troubles or her depression she suffered some 10 years ago. More on this as it comes. Shep.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
There are lessons to be learned from the past that are important for us to consider as we look at this choice that lies before us about who our next commander-in-chief will be. After 9/11 happened, I felt a sense of duty and wanted to do my part to be of service to our country. I could not in good conscience stay back here in beautiful Hawaii and watch my brothers and sisters in uniform go off into combat. These are people and friends who we never forget and who we strive to honor. When we had our first memorial service in Iraq, when we had hundreds of soldiers from the Hawaii Army National Guard's 29th Brigade Combat Team gathered in a memorial service, we paid our respects to the empty boots, the empty helmet, and the rifle. For those of us who have seen what the effects, what the consequences, and what the cost of war is, the qualities of judgment and foresight in our commander-in-chief are paramount. Bernie Sanders voted against the Iraq war.
The question, Mr. Speaker, is not whether we like Saddam Hussein or not. The question is whether he represents an imminent threat to the American people and whether a unilateral American invasion of Iraq will do more harm than good.
Bernie Sanders will defend our country and take the trillions of dollars that are spent on these interventionist, regime change, unnecessary wars and invest it here at home.
I am concerned about the problems with so-called unintended consequences. Who will govern Iraq when Saddam Hussein is removed? And what role will the U.S. play in an ensuing civil war that could develop in that country? Will moderate governments in the region who have large Islamic fundamentalist populations be overthrown and replaced by extremists?
He has foresight when making these most critical decisions that affect us all about war or peace.
Does their schoolwork seriously, does well, take school.
What?
Now you see, this little bird doesn't know it. Oh my. I think there may be some symbolism here.
Ted Cruz was forced today to deny rumors that he has had multiple extramarital affairs.
Let me be clear, this National Enquirer story is garbage. It is complete and utter lies. It is a tabloid smear. And it is a smear that has come from Donald Trump and his henchmen.
Bernie Sanders will win the Alaska Democratic caucuses. Bernie Sanders, the independent senator from Vermont, will have a margin of victory very sizable over Hillary Clinton and will be the winner of the Alaska Democratic caucuses. We're briefly interrupting to bring you this CNN projection. CNN projecting that Senator Bernie Sanders will be the winner of the Washington Democratic caucus. That is the second projection. Alaska and now Washington State. We're still waiting for Hawaii to get underway.
And now the latest news from Hawaii. Sanders roundly beat Hillary Clinton there with 70% of the votes. In Washington State, he won 73%, 101 delegates up for grabs there. And in the state of Alaska, he won more than 80% of the vote, but Hillary Clinton is still ahead when it comes to the numbers, ahead of Bernie Sanders in the national delegate.
For anybody to deny that our campaign has the momentum. You are the momentum. Look around you
an election
tonight.
About choices, right? I mean, I think a lot of people think to themselves, well, if it's Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, and I think Bernie Sanders probably would think
I think Bernie would probably encourage people because he doesn't have any ego in this thing. But I think a lot of people are sorry. I just can't bring myself to do that.
How about you personally?
I don't know. I'm going to see what happens.
Really?
Really.
I cannot believe that as you're watching the ride.
Well, you know,
Donald
some
Trump
people feel Donald Trump will bring the revolution immediately. If he gets in, then things will really, you know.
Oh, you're saying the Leninist model of fighting the contradictions?
Yeah. Some people feel that.
Don't you think that's dangerous?
I think that what's going on now, if you think that it's pragmatic to shore up the status quo right now, then you're
guys, back in January, when there was this whole back and forth about debates, the Clinton campaign was open to more debates after that Flint debate was agreed to. Why not debate in New York?
Because we agreed to debates up to a certain point. We're now out campaigning in these states.
What's the risk?
There's no risk. She's done very well in the debates. The debates have been very good. But Senator Sanders doesn't get to decide when we debate, particularly when he's running a very negative campaign against us. Let's see if he goes back to the kind of tone he said he was going to set early on. If he does that, then we'll talk about debate.
Manager Corey Lewandowski charged with battery in Florida. Lewandowski is accused of grabbing former Breitbart reporter Michelle Fields in a rough way following a Trump press conference in Jupiter, Florida on March 8th. Jupiter police released this previously unseen surveillance video of the incident in which Lewandowski appears to make direct contact with Fields. Donald Trump is giving his full support to Lewandowski.
Corey's a fine person. The tapes to me are very conclusive. A lot of people are looking and saying, how can anybody be charged? She was actually, if you look at her, my book, and according to a lot of people, she's grabbing at me. And he's acting as an intermediary.
In other breaking news this morning, we have an endorsement to tell you about. Scott Walker has endorsed Ted Cruz as that rally is about to get started in Brookfield, Wisconsin. He did it. There's Carly Fiorina, who has been very active on the campaign trail for Ted Cruz. She's trying to help him become the candidate, and she's been pretty forceful in that, so she's doing the warm-up here for the crowd. And Scott Walker announced this on a radio show earlier, but he is expected to be there as well. And Ted Cruz hopes that he's going to get a nice boost from that.
After a lot of thought, a lot of time, a lot of prayer about this, just really decided after all these years of the Obama-Clinton failures that it's time that we elect a strong new leader, and I've chosen to endorse Ted Cruz to be the next president of the United States.
And good evening from the Riverside Theater in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
It's the situation if two guys are hiking in the woods and a bear starts chasing them. And you know the old joke that the fellow sits down, starts to put on his running shoes, and the guy turns to his friend and said, "What are you doing? You can't outrun the bear." And the guy says, "I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun you." It's become a war zone of battling warlords.
The question, though, is about U.S. troops, though, U.S. forces on the ground to defeat ISIS.
I understand, and I'm answering the question, Anderson. Thank you. Now, I'll confess, growing up in a Cuban-American household, You're raised where there are two parties, the Republicans and the communists. And anyone who is Cuban American will understand I'm not kidding really with that. You guys remember former Congressman Sonny Bono from, Sonny and Cher? Years ago, Sonny Bono was asked, what's your view on illegal immigration? He said, well, it's illegal, isn't it? What kind of company do you have?
We're at Wisconsin Cheese.
Wisconsin Cheese, fabulous. I will confess something, and as my wife Heidi is my witness, my favorite food in all the world is cheese. And I am not saying that to pander in Wisconsin.
Watched Ted Cruz. His home state is not Florida. His home state is Texas. It may be Canada, but to the best of my knowledge, it's Texas. So he made that. I was surprised you didn't correct him, actually.
She says her story has remained exactly the same. She was knocked a little bit off.
Can I read this to you then?
Yeah, that she was knocked off balance, but she remained standing.
Do you mind if I read you her statement? I mean, give me a break. You know, the problem is everybody dumps people when there's a sign of political incorrectness. I'm just going to read, if I can find it.
She said she was almost knocked off balance, but
she said she was almost knocked off balance. Right, here's what she said. You want to read it, or you want me to do it? You're a professional announcer. Why don't you read it? The bottom part. The bottom. Now, that's an exact quote from her prior to seeing the cameras, and now she says, oh, I better change my story, I guess. I looked at her. In fact, one of the great pictures is me going like this, like, get away from me. Who is this person? Okay? But my arm, it's never been the same, folks. Never been the same. So let me just tell you. Romney is, very embarrassed that he did so badly 4 years ago. The guy choked like a dog.
Do you
and
have
lost
proof
an
that he sent it out?
No, everybody knows he sent it out. He knew the people in the super PAC. He knew that I would be willing to bet he wrote the phrase, would you like to have this as your first lady? And a lot of people said yes, actually.
When was the last time you actually apologized for something?
Oh, wow.
President, by the way, went to a baseball game in Cuba. Instead of coming home, I'll tell you what I would do if I were president. I would come home, I would call world leaders, I would gather my military and intelligence experts.
Campaign manager tweeted this just a couple hours ago, quote, Cruz with 0 friends, 0 record, 0 vision, 0 chance, decides to lie about @John Kasich. Desperate, ? Trump right on one thing, lying Ted. Does this signal any kind of a new phase?
No, I didn't know. Sometimes he gets a little tweet happy, and I don't like that, okay? And Arnold Schwarzenegger told me in 2010 when I was running for governor, I was saying, Arnold, they're really beating me up. He looked at me, he said, John, love the beatings, okay? That's part of politics.
Your two fellow candidates have obviously been duking it out over the last week or so. You stayed on the sidelines.
So.
Well, just on this news phase.
About the last 5 months. Where you been, Anderson?
In this new phase on the whole.
That's why I'm not in the news. I didn't call anybody a name. Yes.
That is all the time we have. I want to thank all the candidates, thank the voters who had such good questions, everyone in this room, thank everyone who made tonight possible, including the Riverside Theater and Turner Hall here in Milwaukee.
From Green Bay, Wisconsin, the home of Green Bay, University of Wisconsin, Green Bay with the front runner for the Republican nomination, Donald Trump. More hawkish than Hillary or less hawkish?
I'm probably more intelligent than Hillary.
Oh, come on, answer the question. Are you more hawkish?
Yeah, okay. When
how high is this wall going to be lately? How high is it?
I'd say good 35 feet. It's getting higher all the time.
Meaning you want to ban it?
But the Catholic Church is.
No, let's not talk about my religion.
No, I am talking about your religion. Your religion. I mean, you say you're a very good Catholic.
I didn't say very good. I said I'm a Catholic.
Lied about Ben Carson to steal a win in Iowa. Lies about being the best for the GOP when polls show he can't even beat Hillary Clinton. His TV ad about John Kasich? Lie. Stations had to pull it off the air. If Ted Cruz's mouth is moving, he's lying.
New Day Independent Media Committee, Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Jobs, freedom, security. That's what's at stake. And that's why I'm supporting Ted Cruz for president. Ted is a constitutional conservative. He'll challenge the status quo, just like we've done in Wisconsin. And Ted has a real plan to grow jobs and restore opportunity. Please join me in supporting Ted Cruz, the only conservative who can beat Hillary Clinton and reignite America's promise.
I'm Ted Cruz, and I approve this message.